I'm Tom Silver, and I'm a therapist. I am an emotion replacement therapist. I do E.R.T. And I have here Suzanne Silver, who is my wife. And Suzanne, we have been working to remove clinical depression with you.
Yes.
And can you tell everybody when we started doing our work?
We started over a year and a half ago working on this. We worked for, I think, 18 sessions. Maybe it was only 15, somewhere in there.
I think it was 18 sessions,
18 sessions.
18 or 19 sessions.
Yeah, and they were very quick within the first few days. I immediately started feeling relief, but we went back and forth for a while, and now things are just as steady as they go.
Okay, now you were diagnosed with clinical depression for how long?
Well, I was diagnosed at 26, but I literally had been struggling with it from the time I turned 13 on, maybe even prior to that, but at the point I turned 13 it became quite unbearable. That was back in the old days, and I was growing up in Montana where things like depression were not recognized, so I went untreated for a very long time. When I turned 26, finally I went to Mayo Clinic, and they actually put me on antidepressants. I was on antidepressants for over 20 years.
Okay, what types of medicines did you take?
They started me on Prozac. I was on Prozac for many years. After different types of medications came out, at times they would change my medication because it would quit working. I've been on Cymbalta. I've been on Trazodone, which that's another story, but I've been on, I can't think of all the names now. We've stated them before.
Prestige?
Prestige was one, yeah.
Okay, and we started working together April 15th of last year, 2010.
Sounds right.
It took you a while to even want to try these tests, these experiments, to see if we can help you, or if you can learn how to overcome depression and get off of anti-anxiety medicine, right?
Yeah, I think about it. I've been told by every doctor who's ever seen me that I would be on antidepressants for life, that there was no hope for ever coming out of it on my own. That's just the way it is for me, that my brain didn't work right. Well, here I am living proof that that's not the case.
Okay. It's about 17 or 18 E.R.T. sessions.
Yeah.
You also learned how to think differently.
Yes.
How to go into that low brainwave frequency state and give yourself these right positive messages.
Absolutely, and something that's very critical to understand. I had learned through the years about positive thinking. Everybody tells you have to think positive. You go to a psychiatrist, you go to a psychologist. They tell you this all the time. The problem is, and where the mystery comes across, is you can tell yourself all day long all these positive, wonderful things, but it isn't until you hit the subconscious mind that it makes any difference. I can tell myself I'm happy all day long, but if I'm totally at the conscious level, all I'm doing is hitting a brick wall. It doesn't change the underlying emotion. And that's where your breakthrough is at. That's why emotion replacement therapy was the key. You get into the subconscious mind. You get to where it matters, and it makes that difference. Totally the difference.
And you also teach yourself how to get into that subconscious biocomputer and give yourself the right messages.
Absolutely. I tell everyone, if I can do this, anyone can do this. I didn't believe this would work. That's one of the most remarkable things about this. We tried this out of extreme desperation. I had tried 3 different antidepressants within, I don't know, 18 months probably. They just quit working. And I know we've talked about that before, so I won't go into it. But over and over again, they stopped. And finally, one day, out of desperation, I said, let's try this. And we tried this, and it's been remarkable, absolutely remarkable. The change in my life, I don't need a pill to continue to feel good or to even start to feel good. And it's ongoing. we haven't been doing sessions over all this time. It was those first 18. After that, I learned how to fix it on my own. It's so exciting. You don't have to rely on anybody else to do this for you. You do it yourself.
And when you're feeling maybe yourself getting a little melancholy, or if we want to call it sad or depressed, what do you do to get out of that? What do you do now to get out of that?
Personally, I have a mantra that I work on my own. I chose something extremely, extremely simple, because when things start to look dark, or things start to go awry, or I start getting worried, or life is getting to me, or whatever the issue is, whether it's a real problem or it's just a chemical imbalance, I recognize it. First of all, I recognize that it's beginning, and I turn it around right away. I do that by lowering my brainwave frequencies, as you've taught me to do. And trust me, if I can learn this, anybody can learn this, because I'm one of the worst subjects you could ever have. But I learned how to do it, so I know anyone can. I lower my brainwave frequencies, and I give myself a very simple mantra, and it's all it takes for me. And I think that's probably all it would take for most people. And mine is simply, I am happy, I am healthy, I am happy, I am healthy, I am happy, I am healthy. If I want to work on something specific in life, I'll go into something else and give myself more suggestions and such. But that's the one I rely on to get myself out of that melancholy that can so quickly turn to depression if you don't catch it.
Yeah, and how many days has it been right now since you have been off anti-anxiety medicine? Well, let's talk about how many days has it been since we started on April 15th of 2010. How many days is it now?
Well, I think we roughly counted it up earlier, and it's about 550 days. 550 days.
550 days?
Not that I'm counting.
We hadn't been counting, but this is the truth.
No.
And how many days into it did you wean yourself off of the antidepressant medicines, would you say? Was it maybe within a week?
No, it's not that quick to go off them, because what you do is you start skipping a day, then you skip every third day, then every fourth day. You know, so it takes a little bit of time, probably within the first 3 weeks to a month. But before we were done with our 18 sessions, I was totally off the pills.
Yeah, and I think we even see that in the documentary that we recorded.
Yeah.
After a certain amount of sessions, I think it was about 8 sessions or 9 sessions.
Was it that fast?
I think so.
Wow.
I think so. Yeah. You had good days, and then you had some bad days. But then when we got to the last part of the documented sessions, which were somewhere in May, somewhere around May 10th or 15th, something like that, it pretty much seemed that you were pretty much on a path of every day being good.
Yeah.
You know, and then you learn how to do these techniques yourself.
Right.
And so you have been seriously off of, we could say, off of anti-anxiety medicine for at least 1 year and maybe 4.5 months.
That's longer than that. It's 180 days is 6 months, so 550 is it's more like 1.5 years, is it not?
We're getting close to 1.5 years.
Okay.
You have not taken one anti-anxiety medicine.
No, in a year and 4 months, I guess that comes to.
Yeah. And before that, when you were taking the medicine, there were sometimes you had, seriously, some very negative thoughts. We can say suicidal thoughts.
Absolutely, it was horrible.
Have you had those since you've been off it?
No, I don't.
So
that's the thing. Even though we've gone through some tough things, even today, I got some news that was very upsetting to me. You know that.
Right, yes.
It was very upsetting to me. And yet, look at me right now. Okay? It hasn't changed. The problem is still there.
Right.
The difference is I can deal with it. I can deal with it because my brain is working the way it's supposed to work.
So it took a little while of these exercises to your brain is now working correctly. It was working incorrectly, but it adjusted to that incorrect working. So it was working correctly incorrectly.
Yes, it's like a learned process. The brain learns to work wrong.
Right.
And the longer it's in that state, the more the brain thinks, that's what I'm supposed to do. And it's so, the thing that's so remarkable about this is it was so easy.
Right.
This wasn't hard. Not nearly as hard as taking a pill every day. Not nearly as hard as writing that check every month to take a pill every day.
Right.
Not nearly as difficult as all that. This
Right.
wasn't difficult. As a matter of fact, it felt good. And the results were so quick.
Right.
I know you've seen it in the video. I look at that video, especially the one day where it was so remarkable, the change.
Suzanne, how do you feel right now?
Very peaceful. And it still amazes me, because before I experienced something like that, I would have told you that was impossible to get me out of that level of funk.
Right.
Without something major or a huge amount of time to get through it.
Right.
Yeah, it just, and we did it in 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was an amazing session.
Yeah.
And the next day when we did another session, you talked about it because it was
Yeah.
just so amazing. Your quality of life is beautiful because anything that occurs in life, you can deal with it, you can understand it, and you don't let it affect your emotional well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing that depression does to you is it wipes out your ability to solve life's problems, because it drains you of your energy, it drains you of your will, it drains you of your ability to even think creatively to get out of the situation you're in. And so that's why it's so important to be able to treat this.
Mm-hmm.
And so wonderful. Like I said, life has its ups and downs. We still see that, and I still have, of course I have problems from time to time.
Right.
That happens.
Right.
But I can deal with it. I can deal with it. And even though sometimes depressed people, they don't even have anything wrong, yet they're depressed. And that's when it's just truly that chemical process going on. The beauty of this is it replaces that chemical process back to where it's supposed to be. If you're not creating the chemicals the way you're supposed to, I swear, that's what this does for you. Because it's attached to the emotions, because it's attached to the brain, because it's attaching all of those different processes, it brings it all together. And it makes the brain work the way it's supposed to. It makes the body function the way it's supposed to.
And I believe this can give hope to anyone out there who is suffering from depression or sadness or clinical depression or dependency of anti-anxiety medicine.
That's right. Whether the problems are real or whether they're chemical related, whichever or both, it doesn't matter. It works.